Anino. Hey, Dolly.
I've been affected by the curse, the damn Hollow Knight curse, the Silk Song curse. I now talk like a Hollow Knight. Hornet Silk Song. Hornet Silk Song is now my personality.
Hey, Dolly. Get good.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Okay? You know what I'm saying, man. God. I'm gonna do that intro again, just for you guys, because you probably all haven't gotten here yet. We're gonna be talking about Silk Song. What fun! I mean, I was probably gonna edit it out anyway. For the people who are listening live, hello, welcome. We've been talking about Silk Song, and I haven't been recording in the past 3-4 minutes, which is really funny. Again, not really that important. The whole you really need to know is the fact that more streamer drama, and my lizard brain hates it with a burning passion. But without further ado, shall we get into the actually fun part of the show where I talk about a fun little video game I've been playing for the past pretty much a month? It's crazy. The amount of hype surrounding this game was already crazy enough. For anybody who doesn't know and is possibly coming from part 1 and didn't get the full story, welcome. We'll be going more in depth into the rest of the story right now. So, it all starts back in 2014, give or take, when one of the developers for Team Cherry, I forget his name specifically, and the artist that's onboarded on Team Cherry named Ari Gibson. I don't know why I remember his name, but not the other person's name. Besides the point. Okay, all you need to know is that they made a terrible game back in 2014-ish, give or take, called Hungry Night, that was uploaded to Newgrounds, and you know how important Newgrounds was back in the day. If you want more of a deep dive on that, you can check my Death of Flash, which actually got published a couple of days ago on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can listen to that right now if you want to, or you can hold off and hear the rest of what I gotta say. So, after that terrible game occurs, they still like the idea, though. They're not deterred by any sort of backlash that they might get, because this is still a very burgeoning scene. Binding of Isaac and all those other games are pretty on the uprise, but still pretty niche in the great gaming landscape as a whole, right? So eventually they're like, okay, we can try to make a game out of this. So they join a game jam called Ludum Dare. I talked also about this. There's so many different cool little. I love how I can just like reference all the other episodes I made and how it kind of culminates into this one big little narrative, weaving interconnected narrative, which is also a bit of a theme because the main character is in fact a spider, which is quite a double entendre, I have to admit. So basically, the whole idea behind that was they made a game for Ludum Dare, which is a 48-hour gaming, a game creation, game dev jam, a game creation contest where they have to make a game within 48 hours and publish it and see who wins. Basically, it's kind of like a panel of judges, and they have to judge every single game, which gets crazy for the bigger ones. I don't know how they do it. It's like 20 judges or something like that. But unfortunately, they didn't have enough time to finish the entire game. I think the theme was like what was under below or something like that. Usually you want to make sure that you stick with the theme because that gives you more points at the end of the game jam, right? And they love the idea, they love the concept so much because it was completely centered around bugs. They had like a huge narrative around it. This would be the first blueprints of what would become Hollow Knight. And from that point onwards, they just continued working on the game. But of course, they needed actual funds to actually support the game further. They couldn't just support themselves alone. So they, of course, went to Kickstarter, as all great concepts do. Now, obviously, Kickstarter is a bit of a hit and miss, depending on where you look and where you see it. But in this case, They obviously had a lot of passion for their project rather than just wanting to abandon it immediately, like some people do. So they put like a very modest goal. I think it was around like 20K, somewhere around there. Specifically, with there was a bunch of goals that you could get afterwards, I believe. Like, for example, there was a few areas you could unlock that would go into the main game. If you were a big supporter, you could obviously get your name written within the game's like sort of like secret zone that you could like kind of read, which is actually quite a fun little read to see. It's quite fun. It's a quite little fun little zone. They're seeing all the different backers in that what's it called? It's in the Dreamer's Rest, I believe, in the original game. But there is also another goal, specifically regarding a second character. Now, for the record, I believe I messed this up last episode for this topic of Silksong. There was a specific goal that they set. I believe. Hold on, I'm pretty sure. Yes. So the main goal was, I think, around 20K. Right. That was their main goal, which they obviously hit. But the other main goal was to get a second character to the game. You get another playable character, right? Which would be the next blueprints for, in fact, Silksong, right? But unfortunately, they couldn't really add it in because it was a lot of they were already adding a lot of DLC. And they realized that the game, that the DLC they were making would actually fit into its own game, its own narrative. It was such a fun thing to work on. So they actually met. I think they actually met that goal. I'm pretty sure it was 56K, and at the end of the I think 60-day period, it raised 57K for this Kickstarter. So basically, they got all the funds they needed to in order to make the first game, which was Hollow Knight, right? Then, of course, this got published in 2016, I believe. Then they had a bunch of DLC throughout the next 2 years, up until 2018, where they uploaded the fourth one, which was God Master, which was really fun. And I still need to beat the final boss of that one, which is pissing me off, right? But once they started working on this second character, once they finally committed and they're like, okay, we finally have enough time to work on this next DLC. Except there wouldn't be a DLC. In fact, it would be its own separate thing. It's incredible to think about, but like, this game has been worked on for 7 years, specifically, right? What would have once been just like a 6 month a project spiraled out into 7 years, and the main two reasons for this was two principles. One, they just liked making games, which by all means, you sweethearts, absolute darlings. Everyone loves them specifically, right? For these reasons, because a lot of the time, when you're making games and people constantly say you need a large team and to meet deadlines, you have to crunch, right? A lot of the AAA companies are big proponents of this crunch, right? You have, CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk 2077? A lot of crunch had to be done in order to get that game out in time. There's a bunch of other examples too. The list goes on and on, right? But this game proves specifically that you can have passion for the games industry and still have passion for it when you see the other side of your project or of whatever you're working on specifically, right? I think AA studios like Supergiant have this perfect balance between them, right? Obviously, you have Team Cherry on the one end who work on their games independently, have pretty much like no real, like, they just have like one marketer on their team. That's it, right? With something more like AA, like for example, not CD Projekt Red, Supergiant, who made obviously Hades 1 and Hades 1 and 2 and a bit of the Pyre. I gotta stop moving this microphone. I'm biting myself. I'm shooting myself in the foot here. Hades 1 and 2 and Pyre and a few of the other games that I still need to check out, by the way. I might make episodes of those in the future. But all those games were made by a bigger studio. Probably like somewhere around 15, 20 people, give or take. Obviously, you have like voice actors and game designers and like leads and stuff like that who are able to make the game more streamlined and organized, who can actually pump out a game more quickly. Like you can make a fully fledged like extremely dense game within 3 years comparatively to just a 3 person team within a short amount of time. Makes sense, right? With the smaller team, you get a more condensed and refined project that allows you to have a more focused vision. While with the AA studio, you have a bit of a more broad vision with a lot more moving pieces, but you get a bigger project in the end, right? And with the AAA studio, obviously, you have an even bigger project that has a lot more gameplay, but also at the same time has a lot of that same crunch and the same kind of deadlines and the same sort of like toxic environment within their own workplace environment, right? So there's sort of obviously the pros and cons of all those, right? So you just see why we're doing the show in the first place. And obviously this leads us to our second reason why it took so long to make this game specifically. I read a specific article which was really interesting to me, where they talked about how if you write a character, if you know the character well enough, if you can understand that character, you can kind of make the character write their own decisions almost. Right? I feel like that's kind of the reason why so many writers are able to write so well, in a sense. At least, like, ones, I feel like Terry Pratchett, for example. I feel like his writing is more like a stream of consciousness, for example. Its characters kind of flow out. As long as you know the reason why they exist and why they're there, and what they're doing and their motives for doing it, if you can get into their headspace, then you can kind of make the character do whatever they want and let the story kind of tell itself in a way. And they kind of, Team Cherry, expanded this out into what the world would be like and following the whole world to its conclusions, right? I make worlds for my D&D campaign specifically, right? I have a D&D campaign. I think I've talked about it a couple of times with Noob Destroyer Daniel. And with world building specifically, I feel like a lot of the struggle I have with it is trying to figure out what would come next. What is the next sequential element that I need to focus on in order to make this world more cohesive, more narrative, more fun, more engaging for the players, right? And following the world to its conclusions is a very interesting concept of this, because if you understand your world to the point, if you understand the kind of history of the world, if you understand the core mechanics of your world, if you understand the specific powers of the world that kind of influence what's going on, then you can follow those to their conclusions, and what would once be things that are kind of separate and abstract in their own separate corners kind of connect and collide and kind of do their own thing and then kind of break apart, and then you get what's left in the rubble being the game or the story or whatever you want to make, right? And that's kind of what they followed in order to make this game more full, to make it more natural, to make it feel like the progression as you're doing things in the world feel like it's second nature to you. Obviously, again, like we've said before, the unfortunate side effect is that you could feel like this cycle could go on forever. It's not a feeling of like, oh, geez, I gotta make more of it. Like that specific, like, crunch feeling, which I might make more episodes on in the future. But something, like, specific to the idea of having such a burgeoning passion for it. There's so many things that they were not able to cram in time before the final cut of this game, right? And that's the thing, right? With something more episodic, you can make as many add-ons to a game as possible, right? You can make as many different modules to add on to the game as possible. And I imagine, like they did with Hollow Knight, there's going to be many things that they add on in the future. However, it can be not necessarily overwhelming, but rather than it's like a train that goes to the ends of the earth when you just need one to get from Toronto to Kitchener, you know? It's like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel in this context. You just need to specifically have what you know. I guess that's not really necessarily the same thing. Basically, the idea is that as long as you're building a game that kind of reaches to its conclusion, you don't have to go all the way with it, right? There's so many things that you could add to it that would still fit within the world, but unfortunately, time isn't forever. We all have limited time on this earth, and we can't constantly perfect a game to its absolute final conclusion. Maybe eventually, but definitely not right at the get-go. You just need to have something. So, speaking about modularity and speaking about making the world, we're going to be doing a tier list of all the areas in this entire game if we have a decent amount of time. So strap in! I've played this game for almost 40 hours and I still haven't finished it yet. I still haven't gotten to the final act yet. It's crazy how much cool stuff is in this game. It's insane to me. I love it so much. This game is it's just like one of the best games of all time, really. I don't know what to tell you. So, to quickly surmise what the game is specifically about for the people who are just listening in, and for the people who don't know what Hollow Knight is, or what even Hollow Knight is in general, right? So, this game follows a story that is a sequel to Hollow Knight, where you play as one of the bosses that the original character from the game, Hollow Knight, encounter, which is Hornet. She's a spider who has a sort of tenacity of not only Void, but also Silk, being able to cut you down pretty quickly in the kind of early game of the original Hollow Knight game, right? If you played it before, obviously, you know she's got many moves. Like, you fight her twice in the original game. First time, she kind of just has, like, a very, like, kind of laissez-faire. Like, you obviously, once you play the game a couple times, you can take her down pretty easily. But, in the second encounter with her, she pulls out a lot more stops. She has a parry, she has a few tools she can use. And she kind of goes all out, as it were, to test you. To test your character, particularly. I unfortunately did spoil it for the one friend that I was going to, that is going to play the game soon, thankfully. So, unfortunately, this is how it goes down. She's not necessarily an antagonist, as per se. I feel like in the original game, she's sort of like some sort of like final gate. She's the arbiter to test the player to make sure that they are actually ready for the final encounter that the game offers, right? But in this game, in Silksong, you actually play as her particularly. She's actually the character that is now playable. That it was, what was it? That was funded back in the day, back in 2014, almost 11 years ago. Insane. She has many moves, as I said before. Many tools, many moves, and that's heavily reflected here. The game starts out, you lose all your power, whatever like thing that was imprisoning you saps you of all your juice, and you need to make sure you can go back and reclaim your power as you progress through the world of Pharloom. The hidden weavers that have kind of sprinkled little power-ups throughout the lands, and as you obtain more skills, you get more powerful, you can unlock new areas. A classic staple of Metroidvanias, really. It's like you get the double jump. You can cling on walls now, right? You get what was it? In the original game, you get like a cool hyper dash move that allows you to go through entire zones, right? Just allows you to coast through entire areas. But this game specifically, Silksong specifically, has more modularity. What I mean by that particularly is that the RPG mechanics that allow you to tweak your gameplay style that are present here were not present in the original game. With the original game, I feel like it was more like you get power-ups, and that's it, right? You have your special moves, you have your double jump, you have your wall jump, and a few other ones, and that's pretty much it, right? You don't get anything beyond that. All you have to customize your character is the charms, which will allow you to enhance specific things about it, but the particular moveset does not change. With Silksong, however, you can change your special moves. You can change a lot of things regarding your character. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can add with different things like crests that give you different movesets entirely, different special moves that give you different things you can use to utilize your mana bar, which is in this case your silk bar. Before it was your soul bar. I do love also the specific like aesthetic changes between the different games, but at the same time also keeping within the same game mechanic, right? Those things just absolutely titillate me, as it were. With the original game, you have soul, which is your spellcasting bonuses, right? But with the new game, you have Silk, which also powered the same movesets, but in different ways, which I do like a lot. And with the new game as well, you also get the ability to play an instrument, which in the original game you had what's called the Dream Needle, which allows you to unlock special bosses. Again, it's so well designed. Like, I can't imagine specifically any other like a AAA company trying to do this idea specifically to justice, right? There's a joke kind of running within the subreddit about how there's like how the Silk Song Battle Pass finally came out, guys, and you can buy microtransactions to buy more rosary beads, which is your currency in the game. You just pay $67, you can get 6,000 rosary beads, guys. So you don't have to grind for 1 hour, guys. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, guys. You can get, dude, honestly, you should get the bundle. You should get the gold pass. The gold pass is actually way better. The gold pass actually gives you a lot more bang for your buck. The gold pass is actually way better, guys. The gold pass actually gives you a lot more things that you should actually focus on, rather than, you know, if you get like if you just get like a one purchase thing, it kind of just like kind of completely negates the entire idea. You don't get it. You're not spending your money properly. Again, I'm not specifically ragging on microtransactions as a concept. It's the way that they're implemented in the more modern scene that pisses me off. But besides the point, there's many differences between Hollow Knight and how they were able to develop it and expand on it in the more recent game, right? And one of those ideas, one of those concepts, being quest boards. In the world of Pharloom, there's a lot of, it's called the City of Wishes, as it were, right? So, with this game specifically, there's quest boards within the multiple little towns that you can visit within this game, right? Which gives you little quests, give you either fetch quest or, like, discovery quests, or just, like, you know, general, like, you know, money quests, like donate a specific amount of money to enhance the city, right, as it were. A lot of people, here's the thing, a lot of people don't like the quests. I can understand the overall argument, though. I think Hades 2 had a similar complaint that they added, on top of the original game of the first game, Hades 1, they added a more streamlining crafting mechanic, right? It isn't going to be liked by everybody, right? I think a lot of people have a little bad faith. But guys, just because it's cliche doesn't mean that all the implementations and iterations of quests and crafting are bad specifically. Just because they were repeated over and over again. You can do a lot of cool things with them. You can do a lot of, like, interesting ideas with these mechanics, with these concepts, right? With Hades, it's more so just, like, streamlining that process that was kind of sort of there in the original game, but, like, wasn't really expanded upon, right? It feels more whole, right? With these cliches, you can still use them, just to the, not to the necessary detriment of the game, as long as you're using them right. As long as you're using them to add a more holistic approach to your original game that was, still good, but less polished, right? I think the cliches kind of add a bit of polish on top, right? And honestly, it's the same idea with the Silksong. The quests allow you to add more goals and quick access, easy to understand information within. Like, it adds more direction, basically, right? Hollow Knight never had that. With Hollow Knight, you just kind of went out and explored, and if you got lost, too bad, right? A lot of people still like that idea. I don't necessarily like that idea, because that means I have to look it up, and that doesn't bode well with me. Call me a fake gamer, if you will, but I don't think specifically having to look up ways to beat the game to get 112% isn't the way I like to play the game. I like the game to, like, kind of hint at ways to explore its world, rather than just hiding them behind closed doors. I mean, granted, there's probably a billion different little small hidden doors, hidden little entryways, hidden little alcoves that you can break. Look, one staple of Metroidvanias: breakable walls. Make sure you hit every single wall, because you never know where there might be a little hidden entrance, okay? Here's my little gamer tip to you. Always try to hit the walls, because you never know, right? Even if it doesn't, there's always going to be something you discover. Specifically with the cool sound that I love the attention to detail too. Can I just talk about that real quick? Can I just quickly talk about that real quick? I didn't expect there to be so much attention to details in this game. Like there's a specific zone called Bellheart, right? It's one of the towns you can explore, and a lot of the game's thematic casing has to do with this sort of I guess a chapel. Like it feels like a bit of like it feels like a church almost. The way that all the bells are placed. All the different like kind of theming with the choir, the citadel, which is the main location within Act 2. All this stuff, and like the pilgrim's like pathway they have to explore as you go through these villages, right? What was I talking about specifically? Right, the attention to detail. When you hit the inside of these bell homes, which are like basically just a bell that the bugs live in, they make a really nice sound. I don't know if you expected me to go there, but that was literally all I had to say about that. That was all it doesn't sound nice, man. Honestly, I like hitting the side of the wall. Because you can get your own bell home, specifically when you complete enough quests within Bellheart. So just hitting the inside of the walls, making them clang around, clang. It hits a specific niche that I haven't really delved into in any other specific game. It's such a nice feeling. It's just such a nice feeling. Honestly. So here's the thing with the theming, also specifically, right? I love the idea of how you progress throughout the entire game. How each of them have their own sort of theming, right? The first location you visit, Bone Bottom, is the first town. And this place is completely kind of like, it's very disheveled. Because it's where all the cowards live, right? This game has a lot to do with faith. It has a lot of interesting motifs surrounding faiths, the trust you have within the journey alone, right? I'm trying to understand this world and trying to understand sort of the oligarchic feeling that this place had even before it fell and crumbled under the rule of this weird spider lady that controls it. So this Bone Bottom specifically has a lot to do with the cowardice that they experience, right? Am I worthy? Like, that's like the main kind of central theming around this place. And it gives you this feeling of like kind of pity almost. It's like these people are just like terrified of what's to come because this place has been cursed, right? And the constant like, I guess, perception that they are sinful, that they have no purpose in climbing to make the journey, right, is the sort of apprehension that they experience and kind of destroys them in the end anyway. A bit of spoilers for Act 3 specifically, but once the world starts to crumble around them, they don't really have that much of a chance after that. They get completely raw dogged the entire game. It's so sad. It's literally so sad. You entered it and they're literally already so disheveled. And then once you complete enough quests for them, this huge creature just bombards them and destroys most of their civilization, right? And there's obviously one character in particular. There's a builder guy. I forget his name specifically. But this builder is a kind of symbol of hope in this kind of feeling of despair that this civilization kind of experiences. It's interesting because it's a lot of the people just kind of are trying to muster up any sort of hope they have. But this builder guy doesn't want to explore. He just kind of does his own thing. He tries to support the civilization that is kind of he's kind of fell into. This is his home, and he has to take care of it, right? So he builds, rebuilds a bench. He rebuilds he builds a bridge over the course of the small hole that leads you back to the start of the game. Kind of a very Faudian concept. It's very funny. A lot of the ideas in this game are kind of Faudian in a sense. It's very interesting, because another complaint that I've seen a lot about this game is the difficulty level. The game got patched a couple of times during from when it was released to now. And I read an article recently about how it was actually harder during QA, during the playtesting, which was extremely interesting to me. Because a lot of these enemies and encounters and bosses are kind of meant to be harder. Because in this game, you have a much more versatile moveset compared to Hollow Knight. Here's the thing. I think it would have been fine if the lead developer of the game didn't say specifically that they were trying to make a game that could be played without playing Hollow Knight, right? They're obviously making hard games. Like, they obviously know the barrier to entry is already difficult enough. But compared to Hollow Knight, there's obviously a lot more mechanics you have to kind of hone in on in order to understand the game more fully. Right? It's just how it's supposed to be. You have, like, not only just a dash, but you also have a sprint. You have, like, the pogo, the downward slash that you can use to leap off of enemies, is much more complex to use in some of the iterations of your different crests, which I explained earlier were the different movesets that you can equip during your little customization periods when you're testing out different ideas and concepts in your build. Because I like about this game is that you can have a bunch of different builds, but the issue then comes around when you have to obviously explore the world with a build that is not ready yet. When you have to, find better equipment that would better suit you as a player. Which might be a bit of a criticism there, like, obviously. Like, this game isn't obviously perfect, but this game is pretty close. I think there's a lot of good things about this game. The lore, specifically, absolutely slaps. Like, the fun part about this game is that in the original game, you were just a silent protagonist, right? Obviously, the whole point of the game was that you were an empty vessel trying to staunch a specific what was it again? I'm trying to remember specifically the whole idea and concept of that game specifically. It was basically you trying to stop the world from dreaming. Finally, let a kingdom to rest, right? By stopping and killing a god. But, that's besides the point. It's a big moth creature you have to defeat at the end of the game. It's like, when you get there, all right? It makes sense in the moment. But you have to spend a bit of time with it in order to actually fully understand that first game. But in this game, you're also fighting a god. But in this case, you're more so, it's way more grounded. You have a lot more dialogue. Hornet, the main character, has a lot more dialogue. She's a bit snarky, but also has a very, like, kind heart, I feel like. She knows a lot of morality. I say she's like a neutral good if I were to give her like a D&D alignment chart class, right? Has a lot of character to her. I like it a lot. Like, it doesn't feel like she's just kind of like a cookie cutter thing, 2D character. She has a lot to her. I like that a lot. And it also references the first game, which I also was dying to hear. It was awesome. It was awesome to see. Final, like, the final, like, moment where it's like, oh, shoot. Here it is. Here's the final... Because it doesn't actually reference Hollow Knight specifically until you get to Act 3. Which, again, I'm not going to spoil. I'm not going to go too depth in spoils. I'm going to spoil Act 1 and Act 2. But Act 3 I'm going to leave on the table because I also have not completed the game yet. So, no specific spoilers on that. We're going to keep that spoiler clean, hand sanitized. But I might as well quickly play a bit of the music, and we can try to rank every single area before we close out. Because this game has a lot of areas, but also a lot of good music, right? Each different boss has its own music theme. Christopher Larkin completely went all out with all this music. It's absolutely phenomenal, the music here, right? Maybe, here's the thing. I don't know if it's going to be too, because I have a little booklet of a bunch of piano covers for the original Hollow Knight game, which I love, right? I'm trying to go through Green Path right now, and it's a bit challenging, but it's a very fun piece. I like it a lot. But with this game specifically, I feel like there's so many zones, so many themes. I feel like the book is going to be like at least like 150 pages. Like, it's crazy to imagine, like, trying to put, like, I'm trying to pick, like, the best music from here, because all this music is really good. Like, what music do you pick from to what music do you choose, right? You got Greymore, you got the fourth chorus, which is like a huge mech you have to fight, right? You got Widow, you got Bellheart, you have the Blasted Steps, you got the Slab, you got all these cool ideas that I feel like would work really well, right? Clockwork Dancers, like that's such a good waltz piece, honestly. So we're going to play a couple of these songs while I take a quick break and a little bit of intermission before we do the final ranking. Just keep in mind that this is one of this album is 53 songs long, and I imagine they're probably gonna add way more songs once like all the extra DLC comes out in the next like 4 or 5 years probably. Insane to me the amount of depth this game has. But we'll play a couple of them. We'll play Clockwork Dancers because this is kind of like the kind of quintessential like kind of end. This is the kind of the music this is the final boss that you fight before you finally get to the sort of end game, as it were. I guess kind of mid game. It's sort of like a mid game thing in Act 2, specifically trying to piece together the last dying remnants of the Citadel. It has a lot of good theming around like the actual like kind of what's it called again? Dialectic? Is it dialectic music? What's it called again? I forget the name. I forget the terminology for it. Dang it. Diatonic. Diatonic? No, it's not diatonic, you stupid. No, what was it called again? The music that plays that, but is actually in the real world narratively, right? The music that plays, it's some sort of like, hold on. The music that plays that also is in the world. I don't know what it is. It doesn't. I have such bad search results whenever I'm trying to look stuff up on the show. But you know what I mean. I think I've talked about it on my episode with Venba regarding with Alpha something. So if you want to check that one out, feel free to. I think it's episode 18. You can listen to it on Spotify and all those other fun little platforms. But Clockwork Dancers and Bile Water. Bile Water is my least favorite zone, but also the best zone. It's kind of weird, and I hate it, and I love it at the same time. Anyway, Clockwork Dancers and Bile Water. I'll see you around after the break. Alrighty, we're back, everybody, and I got myself a little bit of a tier list of all the zones. Now, of course, this is not going to be a completed tier list because I haven't beat the game yet, so there's at least like two of them that I have not encountered yet, which is gonna be fun because it's still a bit more game for me to explore before the end, which is always the sad part about these kind of games. The masterpieces always get you. But first, we're gonna talk about Mosslands. I think this is a very good opening sequence because in the first game, the first zone you have to encounter is what's called the King's Path, right? The King's Path is a particular zone that is very devoid of life. There's only like a few bugs, very, very like, kind of like scavenging type of bugs. They almost look like they're malnourished in a sense. In this one, it looks still extremely lively. Like it almost like the influences of whatever kind of curse has been on this land has not infected them yet. So it's a very good contrast. I like it a lot. This obviously isn't S tier, but this is getting an A tier. The Marrow. Oh, I actually love the Marrow. The Marrow is such a good concept too, because it's basically just like fossilized people, like little creatures living inside of skulls, living inside of bones. It's very fun. I'm going to give that an S tier. Also a very good second zone. I feel like it opens up incredibly afterwards. Deep Docks. Oh man, Deep Docks is also pretty cool. It takes place next to the lava area. And also is one of the main catalysts to unlocking a new area in Act 3, which is really cool. Also, I think that's another zone. That's not a fourth chorus, which is also a pretty fun boss. But in this one, I'll also give it an A. Less than Mosslands, maybe. Actually, more than Mosslands. Put it up there. Put it up there. Hold up. Get in there. Get in there! There we go. Awesome. Hunter's March. Oh no. Here's the thing. Hunter's March is the first challenging area in this game, right? In the original game, Hollow Knight, that's Deep Nest. which is actually where Hornet's from, funny enough. But in this game, Hunter's March is the quote-unquote hard area, right? Because actually has you, challenges you to use your pogo, specifically. And if you don't have a good pogo, if you don't have a good crest to have a more downwards pogo, let me have a little explanation real quick. In your original crest has a sort of a diagonal pogo, which requires you to aim it and then have it position yourself to a point where you can actually hit it from the side rather than dead on top, right? Whatever thing you're jumping off of using your nail or your needle in this case. It's the first challenging area. I thought this was a really fun area, though, to be honest. It was a bit frustrating, but there's definitely worse ones. I'll tell you that much. There's definitely worse ones. Oh man, but I think it gets an A tier, maybe a B tier. I'll give it a B tier. Like it's maybe not the most memorable, and it's a bit frustrating. But Bile Water and the Mist. Oh, anyway, Farfields. This is another A. I think Farfields has a lot of cool stuff attached to it. Fourth Course is just a cool boss, specifically because I like big mechs. I like fighting big mechs. But also, you unlock the hover ability, which is the first kind of off-course ability does not align with the original game, which I find is really interesting because it adds a lot more sort of nuance to what you thought was like what would be like something very obvious, right? Like hover ability, obviously, right? But it also allows you to fly on air currents and a bunch of other cool stuff that it kind of lets you chain stuff and allows you to hover in the air. It's a very fun zone and has a lot of fun enemies. A very relaxed zone too. It's not too challenging, but also has a lot of fun stuff about it. The Greymoor. Now, I think Greymoor also gets an S tier because Greymoor is such a fun vibe. Specifically, it has that same City of Tears vibe, where it's like sort of like the ruins of what was once a very populous town, right? Very, very open city, which was finally like lost and taken over by this cursed, right? And this was one of the bosses that was actually patched in the most recent update because people thought it was too hard, which was really funny to me because I beat it before the patch, guys. All right, and for that, it gives me an S. I like it a lot. Bellheart. Ooh, Bellheart gets an A. Again, like not my favorite zone. I think most of the civilizations will all get an A specifically. I'm just gonna put what was it? Where's the rest of them? I don't think the other ones are here. Grand Gate, blah, 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 I'm saying, guys, I could be my own little character in Hollow Knight Silksong. Just watch me, all right? Shellwood's also pretty fun. Specifically for one quest specifically. I might as well talk about this now. In the game, there's another place that we're going to talk about called Bile Water, which is one of the worst zones. It's going to get a C tier, obviously. But with Shellwood, you have to find an item from Bile Water and give it to this guy who does some sort of rite to it. It's a little like root creature, right? The thing is, though, is that when you find this thing, there's no way to get rid of it. And it just sits in your inventory. Silently crying whenever you look at your inventory or looking at the map or doing anything in your inventory. It's literally the most annoying thing and probably the cutest thing as well at the same time. It's probably like actually having a child. It's so funny. But besides the point. Very fun boss. I like this boss a lot. I like the sort of growths that come out of the ground that you have to fight at the same time when you're like kind of restrict your zone at the same time, being able to break stuff and also dodging their attacks. It's a lot of sort of micromanagement, but it's also very fun. Very cool zone. Gets a solid A tier as well. Maybe a beyond. I'd say it's better than Bellheart. Warmways gets a B. Not really, like, it's a zone. It just exists. Like, I'm not a fan of it. It just exists. Weaveness Alta. This place is also pretty cool. Like, this is not, like, the most important zone of the game, but it also adds a bunch of cool upgrades that you can get from it. And Eva is just, she's just a cutie, man. She just gives you cute upgrades, and she's like, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm, like, probably the most powerful entity in this entire place that's still alive. So, there's that for you. Sinner's Road. Also very fun, but it has the same mechanics as Bile Water, so this one gets a B, unfortunately. Which I'm going to talk about right now. In Bile Water, there's what's called silkworms, right, in the water, which basically sap your mana until you can heal. When you heal, it wastes your heal, and instead it removes the maggots that are blocking your healing capabilities. Which sucks. I hate it. I'm not gonna give it a D because obviously there's a lot of there's a cool lore and world building here that I like a lot. Also, the boss is quite fun, and there's not really that much risk of falling into the waters there, so it's not too bad. But I still hate it, so it gets a C tier. I'm sorry. I think the mist gets a D tier because I'm sorry, guys. You can't just like. Okay, here's the thing, right? I'm sorry. I don't understand why you have to make the specific zones so hard to solve. I had to look this one up, unfortunately. This one sucks. Like, I was trying to figure out how to get out of the mist, right? How do you get out of the mist? Oh, guys, turns out you have to play your little instrument near the bugs in order for them to lead you to the place where you're supposed to go. The boss fight is sick. I'm gonna give it a C tier. Fine. The boss fight is sick. No, that's technically in Bile Water still. You can't trick me. This one gets a D. I'm sorry. The mist sucks. Okay? The mist sucks. Even though the world building's cool, even though it's like a cool, like, it's still kind of in tandem with the whole organ thematics where the guy's playing the organ. I love a boss that plays the organ at the end, but that's still technically Bile Water, which is why that one gets a C, and this one, the mist, gets a D. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. Blasted Steps gets an S. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. Blasted Steps is such a fun zone because it has the best world building, I think, of any game. I love dried out zones that have a lot of lore and history around them. Specifically with the guardians of this place trying to blockade you from entering the Citadel because they believe that everyone is kind of caked within sin, right? So they're trying to kill you at all costs. It's so fun. Specifically also with in tandem with the Sands of Karak, because that one also is a kind of subzone of the Blasted Steps. The whole idea is that it was actually a place full of coral and life, but then it dried out for some reason. I think probably due to the curse or something like that. So both of these, I think this one, actually, you know what? I think Blasted Steps gets an A, but it gets a one beyond the Deep Docks, and I think Sands of Karak gets an S, because the Sands of Karak is such a lively and cool zone. Actually, no, swap that again. I hate the enemies in Sands of Karak. The Sands of Karak enemies suck, okay? I hate the ricochet attack. I'm sorry. Gosh, like it's just so hard to predict, and like the hitboxes for like them attacking you, it's so annoying to predict. Grand Gate, I'm not rating because it's not necessarily a zone that I really think about, so it doesn't get any rating because it doesn't really matter. Underworks, I'm gonna give it an A. Beyond, I think it's between Shellwood and Bellheart. Yeah. Because Underworks is like also really cool lore-wise because it's like kind of like the grudgy underworks of the like sort of piping and schematics of the kind of pristine and lively chapels of the Citadel. But also it doesn't really have too much going for it. It's like it's a cool zone. It's a really cool zone. Like I like all the enemies and like all the world building is like very neat there, but it doesn't really have that much going for it. Coral Chambers, I think it's a B. Like, it's not really memorable. I just kind of, like, I try to run through them as fast as possible. They don't really have that much going for them, to be honest. Clockwork Core gets an A. I'm going to put it between Farfields and Shellwood, I think. Or actually, between, Deep Docks and Shellwood. I think Clockwork Core has a lot of cool stuff going for it. I just love clockwork gizmos and gadgets. It's just, like, it's such a fun concept to me. And also, the boss is really cool. I like the Clockwork Dancers, which is the song you actually heard from. I love that sort of waltz theme, but also like sort of mechanical as well. The blending between those two is just a cool idea. Whispering Vaults. I think this is also an A tier. I think it gets between. I think it's after. It's better than Underworks for sure because it has like also a lot of cool ideas for it. Also with the idea of like spawning a bunch of these weird little like. These weird librarian creatures keep coming up. Like, it's so interesting. I just let them loose, and they now just inhabit that place now. So interesting to me. White Ward. I think this one gets an S2 for the world building. Oh my goodness, White Ward. It's such a creepy atmosphere. There's not too much going for it in regards to the enemy types, but the atmosphere that it does, it kind of gives me the true ending of like Alphys's True Lab, you know? Like you have like the pristine, lively chapel, like everything is fine, and then you go to the under, like oh shoot, they were injecting people with silk, and they were actually trying to make experiments on them. I love that idea so much. It's so cool. The slab also gets an S. The slab is really cool because during the game, there's a chance where you could actually get kidnapped in some time during like in one of the places specifically, right? And it's like, oh shoot, where am I gonna go now? You get put in prison, right? And they take your day and cloak. They take your shawl. And you don't take corners to shawl. You don't leave a woman naked like that, okay? She snaps the guy's neck, okay? That's not cool. That's not cool. I like the little prison break. And there's Grindel, one of my favorite characters. Oh my goodness, he's a sweetheart. He's the only thief that actually doesn't steal from you. And knows not to specifically. Because you've already killed several of his brethren. That's kind of canonical at that point. Mount Fae. Now, this one's interesting, because I thought this one was going to be a later zone, which I realized was not a later zone, right? It was a later zone, but it wasn't. Because I thought you were going to get the cloak that allows you to withstand the cold later, but it turns out it was actually a small parkour section where you have to go through the level fast enough in order to make sure you don't freeze to death, right? It's sort of the Breath of the Wild freezing mechanics, where if you stay in the cold too long, you start to lose hearts. Same thing with this game, except you can go to like nearby fireplaces. It's actually the same as that other game, because if you go to nearby fireplaces, you regain your cooldown on taking damage within the cold. And at the top of the mountain, you get your little coat, and it's so adorable, and it lets you to do the double jump, which is awesome. Memoriam. I thought the world building on this was really cool as well. Not really that in depth, so obviously it's not going to get too big of a rating in A tier. By the way, those two were Mount Fae was also an A tier. Memoriam, it's like okay, like I don't really care too much about it, but it's also really cool regarding like them trying to preserve the life that was once thriving back in the day. Again, we don't really know the full canonical like chronology of whether or not this was before, post curse, right? But this was kind of like the whole quintessential idea behind it, preservation of all these different zones. High Halls is also an interesting one too. I think this one gets also an A tier, but it's like it's after Bellheart but before Underworks. I think High Halls has I think it's before Bellheart. Actually, put Bellheart a little higher. I'm gonna put Bellheart a little higher, in between Shellwood and Whispering Vaults, because I feel like they kind of skipped out on this one. Honestly, all it is just a gauntlet. It feels like just a battle arena that was kind of half baked. It is cool, don't get me wrong. It's like a little test of a new ability that you get that you can now access this place, that you were able to access this place after you got it. But it didn't really tickle anything for me. It was just kind of an annoying thing to get through at the end of the day. And one of the most annoying enemies in the entire game. I'm looking at you, weird guy with the weird hook mask. Screw you, man. Okay, Wisp Thicket. Oh yeah, the Wisp Thicket. I kind of like this one too. This one also gets an A tier, unfortunately. It's better than High Halls. Is it better than Underworks? It's kind of a lackluster place. Because it doesn't have like too many bosses. Maybe again, I haven't explored it fully, but it doesn't have too many things going for it. But it's also very cool because it kind of ties back into the expansion that was added to Hollow Knight regarding the Grim Troop, which is a sort of traveling group of what was it? I guess it's sort of like a parade thing that has a lot of semantics regarding the King of Nightmares, which is also a really fun boss, but not a part of this game, so we're not going to talk about it. Purified Ducks. Now here's the thing. It would get a C tier, except for the fact that it includes Fleetopia. There's a subzone that you can eventually get once you unlock enough fleas that allows these traveling group of sort of like, free-spirited flea folk, which are the cutest things ever. If you know from the original game, there's these little creatures called grubs that you have to free from jars that this guy was trying to trap inside of jars this entire time. But in this game, literally these cute little flea characters you have to do the same thing to, but they're like, they just kind of like sleep. They're just sleeping in random locations, or they're stuck in random jars or a place that they kind of got stuck in, right? Poor guys, man. But this, because of that reason alone, because it has Fleetopia, it gets a high B tier, I believe. I think between Sinner's Road and Wormways, it's definitely better than Wormways. A bit worse than Sinner's Road because there's barely anything going for it. There's not that much lore. It's not really interesting. I think similar with the Cradle. I think the Cradle's in between Coral Chambers and Wormways because it just doesn't tickle anything for me. It's just like a place. It's just a place you can go to where you fight like the second final boss. It's not really that interesting. Now, Verdania, I have never seen before, which is interesting. So that's the only one that is on this list that I've never actually experienced. The Abyss, however, is something I have experienced, and because for the lore alone, I guess an S tier. Maybe better than, between Blasted Steps and White Ward. I think between those two, it's very nice. I like the Abyss a lot. It's so comforting to see something that's familiar territory in a way, Hey guys, welcome back to Hollow Knight. We're back in the Abyss. We kind of destroyed the world in the process. A little spoiler to Act 3. But, if you haven't played the game, absolutely buy the game. It's already, even when it's not on sale, it's worth the price. So please, buy the game. On sale, not on sale, whenever you got the chance and the money, please. This game is immaculate. Even if it's a bit tricky, even if it's a bit hard at times, even if it has a bit of difficulty, it still slaps. So give it a shot. Take a little chance with it, have a little playthrough, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.